All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back again to Landscapes Lounge. This is a very special edition. As I said in the very first episode, we're going to interview special guests, but also artists who have signed with our label, Landscapes Music. So, because of that, this time it's the turn of another great artist that I had the pleasure to have with my label. And he did an amazing job to Willscape EP. It was the release 14, and he did a really great remix there. So it's now time to fly literally all the way to Australia and welcome Nick, which you probably guys know much better as Narel. Hi Nick, how are you doing today?
Hey, good to see you, mate. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, my pleasure, mate. What an outstanding remix you did. And also, just by the way, just to let you know, Willscape as well, he said that he really liked that a lot. And we also liked it a lot. That time, it was really one of the outstanding tracks of the whole catalog at the time. Back then, when we asked like you to have to be into the remix duties, we really thought about having this release with a mix of like dark progressive stuff, but also a bit more like up tempo. So that's the main really reason why I wanted somebody like you. Now the first question obviously will be, as usual with every artist, what do you recall about that specific remix, the workflow, anything that you think about it was cool, anything literally that you recall about that?
Yeah, I remember that one really well because the original track was quite housey. It was more on the sort of housey side of things than the sort of trancey side of things. But it had a few really nice sort of melodic sequences and sort of atmospheric pads that were immediate to me, that I could grab those and use those. So I remember taking there was a hook in there, it was sort of a plucky hook, and I dropped that into the sequencer and just started putting a few chords around that. Because I always like to have a pad in the background that evolves and sort of bolt things onto that. The rest of it, most of that track was done on an Access Virus V synthesizer, which is an old piece of gear now. You can just see it over my shoulder there.
Which we will talk about later as well, by the way.
Yeah, I like my machines. Yeah, so a lot of it was done on that. Lots of overdubs, and all of the automation was done live as well. I'm really quite particular about doing that, and there's a lot of artists who I work with who really viciously take the mick out of me for doing that. Like, oh, why don't you program automation? But no, I like to get on the front panel of the synth and muck around. So that remix just sort of evolved from there, and I think it was all centered around an arpeggiated riff that was in the breakdown, and that was going through a sort of a sweeping bandpass filter with some chorus on it, and it just kind of built up from that breakdown, and it sort of straddled the line between trance and prog trance quite well, I thought. And obviously, when you got hold of me, you said you want something a bit more up tempo, so that's in the direction that it went. And I ended up really liking that remix in the end.
And it was a really great stuff. And when we talk about sweeping lush pads and like progressive up-tempo trance feel, that's again, Narel sound is really what you guys should be really looking for. And talking about your style as well, there's something that I like a lot every day, every moment I've been listening to your tracks, which is like the thing that you have such a patience in building everything up, and you still belong to that kind of a old school, like myself, by the way, old school guys that really love building stuff and not literally like sticking to what are the trends, which nowadays we all know, like, hey, do 6 minutes track and then off you go, it's released. We don't care, literally. We have like, it's trance music, you can't really set a time for trance music in it.
No, not at all. No, it's there's a few key things I like to do, right? And obviously I'm a DJ as well, right? So I like to make sure the track is reasonably friendly to mix. But what really sort of frustrates me about some tracks when they've got nothing you can really get your teeth into. Do you know what I mean? Like if you were like having a conversation down the pub and somebody went, oh, how does it go, right? And you can't really describe how it goes, right? I like to be able to have something where you remember it, you hear that track and it sticks in your mind. So some melodic hooks or some really cool sound effects or stabs or something. And then, unless you're doing a really deep sort of progressive track, it needs to have a main moment, almost a theme. No, not a massive sawtooth riff, or I think we're beyond that now, right? But just something where you can go, I remember that song because of that moment. That's what I try and do in my originals, but also in my remixes. I know I was a bit worried about this when I first started releasing songs, but I often will throw in completely original new riffs into my remixes that were not in the original mix at all, and that just sort of started going well about 10 years ago. So I've sort of always done that, and I've got a particular reason behind that as well. There's two remixes styles that really annoy me as well. Right, the first one is where someone's quite obviously just taken the MIDI data, thrown it onto some other synthesizers, loaded up a few presets, and gone, there you go. Right, it's almost a copy of the original. The second one is when the remix sounds absolutely nothing like the original at all. There's just nothing going on at all, where you couldn't play it and go, oh, that's a remix of that, So it's got to, you've got to straddle the line between those two. You've got to put original material into it. You've got to be interesting with it, but you've got to be able to know that it's a remix of the original. That's just my personal preference, but that's how I like to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And so many times you come across tracks that they have really nothing to do with the original. And I remember I had like an example a few weeks ago with a bunch of promos that I listened, and I really wondered why you call it this remix. This is just an original mix. The fact that you just use like a perk doesn't mean that you've done a remix to the track, By the way, now I was checking your shirt because it's kind of an obvious thing now that I will ask you, but I think I should skip the question, what's your favorite label? But I would say, what's your favorite track of their label?
Oh, that's difficult.
That's the question.
That really is a difficult one.
Let's say, mention if you have some that you would recommend to somebody who doesn't know trance music.
Well, I mean, obviously there's been huge pieces of trance on this label. You've got Cafe Del Mar on there, you've got 3 Drives on there. What is sometimes missed is some of the sort of Sasha and Digweed era ones that were on huge tunes. Those ones that were they certainly weren't trance. They weren't even sort of progressive trance. They were doing that classic sort of UK prog house thing. And probably my favourite of that particular genre on this label is Expand the Room by The Light, the 4 Stories High mix. That tune, oh man, I've never heard it live. It's such a great track, and that was when Huge Tunes was absolutely on fire. They were releasing quality prog trance stuff. They were releasing really good quality like prog house stuff as well, really kind of chunky stuff, That's a great example of a tune where somebody goes, oh, how does it go? And you can go, oh, it goes, duh, 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 duh. Oh yeah, that one, right? That's sort of what I'm getting at, But it's a shame that the label ended up closing, because it kind of went deep, and then it went really deep, and I think it sort of put a lot of people off, and then it sort of meandered around for a bit, and then it died, right? But it had such a good history up to that point. But whenever I'm DJing, I tend to put this t-shirt on, and every time some old school head will come up and go, oh mate, Huge Tunes, so it's a great conversation starter as well.
It really should be like that if you love trance. How can you not know Huge Tunes? But to be honest, it's a pity that they are not active any longer. It's good to see that Lost Language, they're still doing really good. They're still doing really good job somehow so far. They still keep it very dark somehow. But yeah, some of those legendary labels back in time that really are not delivering anymore as it used to be. Anyway, but it's good. It's always good to remind people, like where we all come from somehow. Like Huge Tunes, Bonsai, Lost Language, all of these labels, huge big labels back in time. And Juve, that's another label that we first of all share, having releases in there, but you have made your debut, if I'm not wrong, with your remix to Facade, right? To Adam Track. Wow, well, first of all, congratulations. I got the promo. I'm so glad to have it, because both the original and your remix are stunning. And guys, really, you will see in the video as well here a link to that release, but really you should listen to this release. It's an incredible EP by Juve. What do you feel like having a release on Juve, by the way?
Oh, I'm so stoked, mate. I've been wanting to get on Juve for ages, and they're really quite picky about who they put on, which is a good thing. That's a really good thing.
It always is good.
Yeah, So I had to get this right, and my style is kind of it's I do a bit of dark stuff, right? You know, but not too much. You know, I tend to be sort of melodic and a bit melancholic, but I haven't really quite sort of got that Juve sound, you know, spot on. I delve into it every now and again. But what happened is Adam Fassad, he produced Orewa, and he sent it to me. And you know, it's on the lighter side of things for Juve. It's still melancholic. It's not that dark. It's really nice, really nice piece of music. And it reminded me a lot of Burn Your Idols, which is the collaboration that Adam and I did on Kirill Smirnov's label on Willscape. So I said to Adam, mate, let me remix this. I really want to have a go at this one. So he sent me the parts, and I did the remix in didn't take long. It was like 2 or 3 days the remix was done, and that's just because Adam's original is so good. He just gave me loads of ideas, and ended up swapping out the kick drum at the end, and that gave it a whole new dynamic. And and then he sent it off to the A&R guys at Juve, and John himself sent a message back to Adam saying like, "Oh, this is a really nice remix," and I was like, "Yeah, John likes it," you know. So
yeah.
And then it ended up getting released, and it's going good. It's gone straight to my top selling track on Beatport, and so that's the other good thing, you know. So not only has it got on Juve, but actually people are actually liking it, which is amazing. It doesn't go any better than that. So really happy with to make that move and get on to Juve. And there's some more coming as well. I've got to keep quiet about what it is, but there's hopefully another one coming up soon.
Okay, so very much looking forward to them. So technically wise, let's say talking about the actual music production, I know, and everyone who's watching this interview will, I know a lot about your passion for analog gears, your passion for, you know, like sticking to this kind of a mix combination using analog stuff, and obviously sometimes nowadays you have to use like virtual stuff as well. But you're part of the Virus TI, you know, fan club, let's say, like myself, like many others. I see there that you have also Nordlade, you have different other stuff. Yeah. What would be what is the tool that you really say I can't live without it?
It's the Virus TI, without a doubt. You can't see it. It's actually down there behind the JP. It's the TI Snow. It's the baby one. But that that piece of gear just does everything. Absolutely everything. That's all I can say about it, right? You know, if you want a massive lead, go to that. Arpeggiator, go to that. Bassline, go to that. Big evolving pad, go to that, right? And for sound design, it's brilliant as well. You can just dive into the thing via the software interface, and you lose hours on it. And it's just brilliant. I really couldn't do without that. That was the first piece of hardware I used lots and lots and lots. I had the Nord and I had the Virus B, but I had some problems with my MIDI setup at that time. So when I got onto the TI, that sort of got me to pull my finger out and get everything sorted out, and then the studio grew from there. But it's such a great piece of gear. The software can be a bit squiffy at times. Sometimes it falls over and makes things go a bit odd. But I can put up with it because of the amazing sound it has.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I used to have Virus TI many years ago, but guys, you are free to kill me now. I had to sell it at the time because there were some unforeseen circumstances in my life, let's say, and I really had to, you know, like sell some gears. At the time, I had to. I'm really sorry that I had to do it, but I still miss it because, to be honest, I remember how powerful tool was it. If you have a chance to say to somebody who's into production, what is that best thing that you want to share with them? Like, what they should pay attention when it comes to making trance music?
It's probably not anything to do with the equipment or software or anything. I think it's probably down to your individual approach. And this is just my own recommendation, right? Which is don't go in with too much of a plan. You know, have a rough idea of where you want to go, right? But then just follow your ideas. And some of those places you go will be dead ends, but you'll come back around and you'll start again, and you'll end up with something. You know, I think if you go in and you go, I want to do this and do this and do this, or I want to sound like this person, or I want that to sound like that record label. You've got to limit yourself, right? So don't start by closing yourself in. Just turn the machines on and go on a journey and see what happens. And the one other thing as well, I would say, is if you had a recording session and you haven't got anywhere, you haven't finished your remix, or you haven't got the original idea down that was in your head, don't delete it, right? Just save everything, right? Because I've got tracks that I'm working on now that I started like 15 years ago, right? Some audio recordings of some old synthesizers that I saved, and you go back in and you get new ideas that you didn't have at the time. So like 2 of my tracks on my first album, in fact, Ari Arecibo Shy that you remixed, I wrote that song 12 years before that album came out, but I recycled the audio parts onto that one. That's why I couldn't give you any MIDI for the remix, because it was long gone, but I had all the audio bits. And another one on there was like 8 years old, so keep all your recordings and keep all your ideas, because you never know when you're going to be able to use them. Same if you're doing sound design as well. If you don't end up using that sound for that song, don't delete it, save the patch, because you'll come back and you'll recycle it into something else. I guarantee you will. So just keep all those things. That's probably my only bit of advice. Maybe one more thing, which is if you're not in the right frame of mind, if you're not feeling it, don't start. You've got to be in a good space, a good creative space, to be able to have good things happen. Don't force it.
On top of that, I also would like to add just my personal experience that when you make some tracks, when you make music, don't really give yourself a time frame, because it's the worst thing that you really should do. It's all about really going with the flow. So sometimes you really prepare the whole build up, and then you're not happy with it, then just leave it, wait, create something different, create another one, do 3-4 takes, different grooves, and you will see in 3 or 4, 5, 6 months, all of those grooves will make sense, each of them to a different way. And you realize that you have really junked just one out of those 10 projects that you had. But it's all about being patient, and this is unfortunately something that nowadays people, they are not that much, because they feel the pressure. I have to have a track every day, every week, very, very forced by themselves, but also what the industry somehow is asking you, because that's what it is, unfortunately, to certain levels. And you said about forthcoming works and projects. What's the biggest one to come for the next year?
Well, I'm working on. I'm a good way through through my second album, and I don't really know what to do with it at the minute, because at the minute it's a whole bunch of dub techno and ambient and sort of strange things that are in between ambient and dub techno. So it's not something that you'd release, or that Kirill would release, or that Bonsai would release. So I'm probably gonna put that out via Bandcamp on just to pay or whatever you want, type affair. So that's been something I've been working on for a while, and I'm keeping my focus on that. There's another, there's the other project for Juve as well, which it's a remix, but I've got to keep quiet on that, but I'm quite excited about that one. And then I've also got an original that I'm working on that is, at the minute, it's pretty hard. It's very acidy. It's sounding like it's going to be the follow-up to Baseline. So I'm quite excited about that one. That's probably, 75% done. And then the only other one that I can probably talk about these things actually, because they're not secret. But there's a collaboration with Cosmifex that's coming up. So he and I started throwing ideas around, so I've started on that one. And also with Core Data with Johnny, he and I agreed to do a collab ages ago, and he sent me the bits, and I haven't done anything with those at the minute, but that will be happening as well. So there's quite a bit going on. And then finally, and apologies to yourself, mate, I will do that Dust Over Puerto Princesa remix that I told you I would do about 8,000 years ago. I think I promised you I would do that remix. So I've never forgotten about it. I've just you've got to give me a release date. If you say, hey, look, I have it done by then, I go, okay. Because we went, I will cancel it, it's just sat on the hard drive. So there's lots going on. I really enjoy the album work because that's where I can do exactly what I said about earlier, which is just turn the machines on and go off in directions. You know, there's one ambient track I'm doing on, which is it's all on the Nord 3, and it's just all running through like Valhalla Shimmer with live modulation on the front panel, and it's just making this huge soundscape, this big ambient soundscape, and that, and then there's a bit of sort of tinkling around going on the JP as well, and that's just really good fun, just to have that looping and running through effects and be live on the front panels and stuff, you know. So it's sounding really good, you know. Like I was really proud of the first album, but I think this one's actually a lot better.
Okay, well, congratulations first of all on planning somehow the second album. It looks like there's gonna be so much to wait from you. Don't worry about the remix, and I'm more than happy to receive it any time. Trust me, because I really trust your music taste. And also sticking to the landscapes. Now that you mentioned Dusk Over Puerto Princesa, just a very quick reminder to everyone that we have Remix 30. It's our fresh new release, and Dusk Over Puerto Princesa got released with an incredible remix by Dark Matter. You have to go and check Jack's remix as well. It's such an amazing breaks track. I love it. All the tracks in there are, to me, stunning. Go and check it out. It will be out on Beatport on the 14th of December, but it's on SoundCloud already. You go there and have a listen to, and let us know, guys, what you think. Okay, so look, Nick, it was really good, big pleasure for me having you. I am really happy to talk about music with people like-minded, you know, like you, like I did with Core Data, like I will do with others. There is that thing in common that we all have, like me, you, Core Data, and many others like Adam. We share those passion for those kind of 2 or 3 labels, which always give us this support. That could be Juve, it could be Willscape, but we always have that thing. You mentioned Cosmitex that did an incredible remix to my track on Willscape as well. It's great to see that the underground is still going on. And it's good to see that people still believe in the underground as like a way of expressing things when normally words are not really needed. That's why we sometimes really love making music and really don't spend too much time in talking and do interviews everywhere. Nick, thank you so much again. Guys, again, you will see all the info, Nick's track on Juve, Nick's remix on our label to Willscape. All links will be here, right down underneath the video. I hope you're gonna enjoy watching or rewatching this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Nick, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thanks, mate. And just to everyone who watches this, like, thank you so much for the support you give me. You know, I still can't believe that I've been doing this for as long as I have, and people like listen and play my stuff, you know, because I just muck around on these machines, really, you know, right? So it's really heartwarming when you get nice comments about your music. So thank you very much.
Definitely it is. I really agree on that. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching again, Landscapes Lounge. If you have questions, if you want other artists to sign with us, or if you want artists to be interviewed from us, let us know as well. Thank you for watching, guys, and see you next time. Bye.